Hi, welcome into the garage once again, and another in our weekly motoring programme, Four Wheels Good. Well, at last, the new Volkswagen Passat has finally hit our showrooms after all the problems that VW have been plagued with regarding the new right-hand drive version, and Nicky Fox will be reporting on that a little bit later on in the programme. Will Hoy will be enjoying a vintage Bentley which makes up in character what it lacks in performance and refinement. We'll be joining a group of 4x4 enthusiasts who aren't worried about the size of their dry cleaning bills. And as we speak, Mike Rutherford and Ginny Buckley are collating reports at this year's huge international motor show at Geneva. It seems both are constantly at car launches or on an aircraft to another one. Well, here's Ginny in Austria, the city of the Blue Danube.
This is Vienna, home to the Strauss walls, the Blue Danube, palaces and the Grand Opera. And it's an unusual place for the launch of an all-American people mover, soon to be available in the UK. But the new Chrysler Voyager's factory is just down the road. And what better vehicle than a people mover to do a spot of sightseeing in? Peter, we're here in Vienna for the UK launch of the Chrysler Voyager, and you've not just plucked it off the map as a pretty place to visit, have you? It's been launched here for a reason. Why is that?
Well, the reason is that the Voyager, although it does carry the Chrysler badge, and many people would think it's an American-built vehicle, it's actually built here in Austria, in the city of Graz, which is about a 2-hour drive from where we're standing at the moment. So we thought, let's bring journalists here to test it in the country where it's put together.
You're launching the Voyager into a very crowded market in the UK. There's a lot of established names. Do you think you're a little bit late? Do you think there's sufficient room in the market for you to fit in?
Well, of course, we would have liked the Voyager much sooner because now there are 15 MPVs on the market in the UK, but we couldn't have it because the old Voyager, which this vehicle replaces, only had one side door. And that side door for the UK was on the wrong side. It was, it would mean that the passengers would climb out into traffic, so obviously we couldn't introduce it. This new Voyager, which was introduced in Europe about 18 months ago, now has twin sliding side doors, and as a result of that, we can now introduce it in right-hand drive in the UK. One of the reasons why we think it's going to be popular is that it's the original MPV. It is the first. Many people here in Europe think that the Renault Espace was number one, but the Chrysler Voyager was first produced in late 1983 and has been produced for 14 years. There are 6 million now on the roads in the world, and over time Chrysler has taken the feedback from those 6 million owners to turn the MPV into something which is used and liked by real people. It's that they've got a huge amount of feedback coming in from those 6 million users, and they've turned the vehicle into what we see today. Selling points are, of course, the high equipment levels that are fitted to this vehicle, the twin sliding side doors, the fact that there is a huge amount of luggage space behind the third row of seats. That's a criticism which has been aimed at a lot of MPVs that are on the market, but even in standard wheelbase form, the Voyager does have a huge amount of luggage space behind the third row of seats. The Grand Voyager, which is the long wheelbase version, has even more luggage space, and in theory you can fit 8 suitcases in there. So that is something that you haven't seen on MPVs so far.
So it's not just the family, it's the bags as well. Now the other thing that an MPV has to be, of course, is flexible. How flexible is it?
Well, it's very flexible as far as the seating's concerned. For a start, you can take out the seats in the rear. You can take out the middle row of captain's chairs. You can turn them round. You can't turn round the front, the driver and front passenger seats, like you can on one particular MPV. And I've heard people say that when you can do that, you can hold board meetings inside these cars and meetings. Now, how many people want to hold a meeting in an MPV, I don't know. So yes, I admit we can't do that on the Voyager, but the seats themselves are extremely flexible. You can keep them in, take them out, do what you like.
Peter, are you confident that the Voyager is priced competitively enough against the Galaxy, the Espace, and of course the Seat Alhambra, which is a very popular model?
Yes, we believe we are very price competitive. One of the selling points of Chrysler and of our other range of Jeep in the UK is that we are very highly spec'd for the price. The Voyager here comes equipped with the 3As, which are air conditioning, airbags and anti-lock brakes. They're standard right across the range. We have a 3-year mechanical warranty and 3-year roadside assistance, and there are power steering, electric windows, central locking and lots of other equipment on the vehicle. So apart from being immensely practical, a good looking vehicle, it's also well equipped. The prices are right there amongst the competition, so I think that take that lot together and we have something that is extremely competitive.
Now the market, there's only so much room in the market for MPVs, there's only so many people out there that want to buy them. What kind of market share are you going for with it? What are you aiming for over the next 12 months?
Well, we have the world's best seller here, and because we have that vehicle that has done so well around the world, we do expect to do pretty well in the UK. We're being fairly realistic with our projections for the first year, but ultimately when we have a turbo diesel in the range alongside the 2 litre and the 3.3 litre petrol engines, we should take about 10% of whatever the MPV market is. To give you some idea, last year 35,000 MPVs were sold in the UK. That's expected to grow in 1997. To what level we don't yet know, but if we can't take 10% of that, then we'll be pretty upset.
If you're in the market for an MPV and the thought of getting behind the wheel of such a large vehicle daunts you, then really don't worry. All the manufacturers have made great efforts to make sure that driving an MPV is an experience that's more car-like than van-like. And I've got to say that Chrysler have cracked it with the Voyager. It's really hard to believe that I'm behind the wheel of what effectively is a minibus. The driving experience is fantastic, visibility is excellent, it's a nice smooth ride, the seating position is comfortable and all the switchgear is conveniently and sensibly laid out. You know, it's the little things in life that sometimes make all the difference. Like this, a handy little compartment for keeping your sunglasses in. Even the 2 litre entry model on the Voyager is crammed full of extras, like all the storage compartments and this thing, very handy onboard computer, so you know the temperature and exactly what direction you're going in. So what don't I like about the Voyager? Well, to be honest, there's not an awful lot. Overall, I think it's a good vehicle, but I'm a woman and therefore I'm going to be picky. And one thing I'm going to be picky about is the pedals. They are a bit too close together for my comfort. I'm not too keen on them. Another is the seats. They seem lovely and soft and comfortable, but you get in them on a long journey and your back starts to feel it after a while. The stereo, again, is far too fiddly for my liking. I like something simpler. I think they should at least have remote control on the steering wheel, and if not, why not do as Renault have done with the Espace? Create this fantastically handy remote control, so it means that the stereo can be operated from anywhere in the vehicle. It saves all those arguments about what channel you're listening to. Whoever's got the zapper, well, they've got control. The final thing, and I think for me the most irritating of all, is the position of the handbrake. Chrysler tell me that it was meant to be positioned way over there, which would have been even worse. I feel that as a woman, I've got quite short arms, I really do need to reach down, and it's quite uncomfortable to get it on. So there, gripe over. I've got it out of my system, and I'm happy now. Let's do some more sightseeing. Under the bonnet of our test vehicle was a 2 litre 16-valve engine with a 5-speed manual gearbox. It's priced at a very competitive £18,395 and is available in either a 5-seater SE or 7-seater LE version. If you decide to go for the 2 litre, don't expect too much in the performance stakes. It's a very heavy vehicle and you need to work hard at the gears to get much power at all out of the engine. A far better bet is a £23,695 3.3 litre version. It's equipped with a V6 engine and a 4-speed automatic gearbox. And even with a full load, it cruises comfortably. But beware, because it's a gas guzzler. You'll be lucky to see 20 miles per gallon, and around town this figure will drop into the mid-teens. If it's load space you're after, then the Grand Voyager is the one for you. Its extra 13 inches in length gives you a vast amount of room.
Well, the Voyager is the original MPV. It is the first that was ever built. It was originally designed in 1983, the original model. Since then it's sold over 6 million throughout the world. It's the biggest seller by far. It's outsold over 14 years every other people mover by a factor of tens and hundreds. And we think that it's because it's the original, because it's so successful, that we'll be successful too.
You knew it was popular, you knew that you were onto a winner. Why has it taken so long to produce a right-hand drive version? Why is it economically viable for you now?
Right, well, it's the reason is very simple, is that it's a new model. This is a new model Voyager, and it was not considered worthwhile to design it in right-hand drive when it was the old model. So with the new model it is, because it's not only going to be sold in the UK, it's going to be sold around the world wherever there are right-hand drive markets. And right-hand drive markets now constitute 41% of the car market outside the United States. So it's a very important step to take, but it's a very important market, the right-hand drive market, to get into. So the two things have coincided really.
What kind of numbers are you hoping to sell in the UK over the next 12 months?
In the first 12 months, I'd be happy to sell 3,000. That's without turbo diesel in the range. The turbo diesel will follow in about a year's time or so. But once we have a full range of Voyagers to sell, including turbo diesel, I think we'll take about 10% or thereabouts of the MPV market. Because we haven't got turbo diesel in that first 12 months, I think we'll sell about 3,000.
And that's increasing the number of Chrysler Jeep import vehicles on the roads of Britain. And you have a dealer network of, is it 98 dealers?
98 dealers, yeah.
Can they meet the customer demand and also, more importantly, maybe provide the after service that's needed?
Well, certainly. We sold just under 12,000 units last year. We'll take the dealer network up to about 105 to 107 by the end of this year. We feel that's perfectly adequate to meet all the needs for servicing that our customers require.
The Chrysler Corporation in general has performed excellently, hasn't it, over the last 12 months in the States. Does that mean we're going to see more investment in Europe as a result of that?
They've had a very successful 1996. I think they will go from strength to strength. They're a very design-led company. They're a very profitable company. They are a very cost-conscious company, and most importantly, they're design-led. They have a wonderful management team, and I view Chrysler as being one of the most exciting manufacturers in the world today, without a shadow of a doubt.
So what do you have your eye on next to bring over? You must have things earmarked that you think I could see a place for that.
I know what I'd like to bring over. I would like to bring over the Prowler for myself, but whether or not that will be possible, I don't know. This coming year we've got the new Cherokee coming in, we've got a new Wrangler coming in, and I estimate that by the turn of the century we'll have another passenger car coming in as well. Because right-hand drive is gearing up in Chrysler's eyes, and we obviously benefit from that in the UK.
There was some fabulous concepts that we saw at Detroit. Which of those would you most like to see on the roads of Britain, do you think?
I'd like to see the Copperhead very much, which was the two-seater sports car, because I can see myself in that, apart from anything else.
You're a boy racer at heart,
aren't you? I am indeed. I like Vipers very much. I think we'll see the new generation of Jeep come out. Whether it will look exactly the same as the Icon, I don't know, but I think that will happen. And I think the four-door Wrangler, the Dakar, will happen as well.
We've looked at many features on the Voyager, but for many, the most important deciding factor may well be the number of cup holders. If you're a family man whose prime fear is the kids getting cola over the seats, then rest assured there are no less than 12 cup holders on the Grand Voyager. We know because we counted them. The Chrysler Voyager is certainly a very impressive package, although it may not be the best value in the world of MPVs. Others offer more extras for even less money. But if you want plenty of space, more than the average MPV, nice extras and a good reliable vehicle, then the Voyager is the one for you. But let's face it, you wouldn't buy a pair of shoes without trying on plenty of others first. So you mustn't buy an MPV without trying out all the rest to make sure that it suits your needs. But in order to try them all out, you're going to have a pretty empty diary. The Voyager makes 16 on sale in the UK. So now let's see, we've done the Voyager today. How about the Galaxy tomorrow? And then maybe the Espace. And then perhaps we could try the Previa. And then the Synergy, the Mercedes V-Class. Oh,
Yes, well, I reckon you might as well test drive everything in your price range when you're in the market for a change of car. It surprises me how many people stick loyally to one marque without trying out the alternatives. Well, maybe the Voyager won't be suitable for your family needs and a traditional saloon might be better. Well, stay with us because after the break, Nicky will be showing you a new family car that claims to give an executive ride and feel, but for an average family car price. Hi, welcome back to Four Wheels Good, where we bring you news of all the latest choices in the car market. For Volkswagen, the story of the large family saloon, the Passat, hasn't exactly been a fairy tale.
Once upon a time, there was a car called the Volkswagen New Passat. It came all the way from a factory in a land far, far away, but it couldn't find enough people to fall in love with it.
And the reason nobody loved it? It was ugly. It was so ugly, in fact, this was one Cinderella nobody wanted to take to the ball. It had the sort of face only a mother could love, and that meant very few friends indeed.
The problem was that the fairy godmothers at the Volkswagen factory had made a car without a smile, and without a radiator grille, the Passat found itself being left on the shelf.
Except, that is, in Belgium. The original Passat, launched in 1988, proved surprisingly popular with Flemish folk who ignored its lack of a friendly face in favour of its ample roominess.
Because room it had aplenty, being one of the largest cars in its class, longer than some Mercedes models.
The Belgians could appreciate what was on offer, but as far as Britain was concerned, forget it. All the cabin space in the world couldn't charm the buyers into parting with their cash.
Right, thought the Volkswagen fairy godmothers, time for a new spell.
They set to work, improving that faceless image. They gave Cinderella a smile.
Underneath, it was exactly the same car, but outside was the face of the new Passat.
But somehow it just wasn't enough, except in Belgium. So the fairy godmothers dusted off their book of spells, bought some fresh Eye of Newt and Wing of Bat, and tried again.
When the magic dust had settled, the new Passat appeared, a brand new re-engineered model with a range of features its ugly sisters could only dream of.
The range will include 4 petrol and 2 diesel models, all with bags of extras as standard. Now the prices aren't finalised yet, but they'll start at just under £14,000 for the 1.6e and £15,800 for this, the Passat S 1.9 TDI. The cars are so new that only this German left-hand drive was available to test. So, did the fairy dust work?
Well, there's certainly a feel of solid quality. It has that indefinable something that we've come to expect from German cars.
The foot controls are light. The gear shift isn't, but it is solid and sure. My only niggle inside the car is having to flip up the armrest to operate the handbrake comfortably. The new Passat's up against tough competition in its class and against its own ugly sister reputation. But I think this is one sad fairy tale that should have a happy ending. Volkswagen reckons it'll increase sales of the Passat in Britain by 400% in the next year. Now that would be some fairy tale. All I know is you have to kiss an awful lot of frogs before you find your prince. But whatever happens, it's bound to do exceptionally well in, but you know where.
You know, many people wish they could wave a wand over their old heap on the drive and turn it into something exotic. How about something classic? Well, cars made decades ago may not have the refinement of modern ones, but somehow had real personality. Will Hoy goes in search of a car which you'd not be ashamed to have a conversation with.
This type of Bentley won at Le Mans 68 years ago. It's the 4.5-litre model. In fact, it's almost identical to the car I took on this year's Classic Mille Miglia, the reenactment of the daunting 1,000-mile road race around Italy. I must say I had a fairly jaundiced view of pre-war classic cars. That was until I sat behind the wheel and tap danced my way around Italy. Yes, I did say tap dance. That's because in a contemporary car, you use your basic, natural, subconscious instincts to drive the car. But in this car, the Bentley, the middle pedal is the accelerator and the right-hand pedal is the brake. So when you have one of those rather dodgy moments and your right foot's on the accelerator and you want to go on the brake, then if you go to the left, you go onto the clutch. So when you eventually find the brake on the right, you've not only missed the turning, you've scattered the goat herd and ended up back in the vineyard yet again. And you think that's bad, then there's the gear change. When I was first acquainted with this car, I was told how to change the gear. You have to doubly clutch on upshift and downshift. You have to count to approximately 2 seconds before you engage the next gear. You mustn't use more than about 2,500 revs. Sounds complicated? It was, and it certainly is. And then there's stopping, the brakes. This car weighs 1.5 tons and it has 4 16-inch drum brakes. You've got more chance of winning the national lottery than stopping this car quickly. So if you don't mind, I think I'll concentrate on driving and get on the way to Alton Park. This car is no typical 4.5-litre Le Mans type Bentley. It was the original show car from the 1928 London Motor Show. W.O. Bentley built this model as a high-performance sports car to improve the marque's competitiveness on the track. Whilst this is the 4-seater, the 4.5-litre came in many different guises. That's because customers in the 1920s could order cars to their own personal specifications, all for the princely sum of 1,000 golden guineas. It's now worth 180 grand. The chassis is steel channel section with cross members and suspension is semi-elliptical springs with double shock absorbers on the front. Filling up is done here, a credit card melting 45-gallon Le Mans spec tank. And the MPG, a highly respectable 16 miles to the gallon. Not bad for a 70-year-old car. The big lights and grille just say Bentley. And under the bonnet is the 4-cylinder 16-valve engine pushing out 110 brake horsepower. In fact, in its day, the 4.5-litre Bentley was a remarkably advanced car. It had brakes on all 4 wheels as opposed to 2 on more humble cars. It had a 4-speed gearbox, it had twin carburetors, there was a widespread use of aluminium, it had 2 spark plugs and 4 valves per cylinder, attached to a single overhead cam, an arrangement copied by Triumph 40 years later in the Dolomite Sprint. The 1928 Autocar road test simply effused about this car. They said it was one of the most pleasant and exciting cars to drive. A driver in tune with it would feel in full control, and that the car would do everything asked of it. Well, let's find out. In terms of performance, the car is surprisingly nippy, helped by the massive torque and pulling power of the low-revving engine. In fact, motor in 1928 achieved 90 miles an hour at 3,500 revs. At a time, in fact, when the legal speed limit on the road was 20 miles per hour. This car, in fact, can do 105 miles an hour. And as for handling, well, the steering is not exactly light, and the only power assistance comes from here. And then there's the chassis. Well, it's a bit like a Morgan in the sense that you feel every bump on the road. And also with this car, the chassis actually flexes as you go over an undulation, although I'm told that's what it should be doing. Bentley is probably the earliest British car that anybody associates with success on the racetrack, something now we've become rather used to with the great success of British motorsport. In fact, Bentley rather dominated Le Mans in the 1920s, and in 1928 won Le Mans with the 4.5-litre in the hands of Wolf Bonato and Bernard Rubin at an average speed of just under 70 miles an hour. My overall impression is, given its age and apart from the pedal arrangement and gear change, is that it's a remarkable car with some very pleasant driving characteristics. So it makes me wonder what car manufacturers have been doing for the last 70 years. It beats me.
Beats me too. A truly magnificent vehicle. Well, after the break, some ideas for leisure hours when all you have is a 4x4 and a muddy track in the countryside. Join us soon. Hi, now, what do you do at the weekend? Get together with friends for good food and conversation? Well, here's a report from South Wales where people get together but talk with a Q somehow is more important than talk with a K.
Scott, I'm the editor of Off-Road and Forward Drive magazine, so I was responsible for setting this up with Suzuki overall. The general idea was that there's so many competition 4x4s out there, like real hardcore stuff, you know, which most people couldn't do. Loads of people have got 4x4s, they're going to see them in Sainsbury's car parks and so on. We thought we'd set something up for them, something they could do, encourage them to go off-road. It's only a few percent of people go off-road, so we thought we'd try and get their percentage up a bit. The prize for this is that one of the people here and his extremely happy partner, or her extremely happy partner, is going to go to the United Arab Emirates for a week, all expenses paid, really nice holiday, fantastic hotel, get to go and drive out in the desert, see the whole bit, you know, the whole Razzmatazz adventure holiday.
The competition's run by Suzuki in conjunction with Off-Road and Four-Wheel Drive magazine. Proved a success right from the very first one, and this is the 4th year it's been going. People are invited to write in, fill in a questionnaire, which they send back to the magazine. All the correct entries go into a hat, and the first 12 that picked out are the ones you're watching driving today. The problem we have with the driver is that when they send their questionnaire in, we've no idea what level of experience they have. We've obviously got people here who have driven off-road before, but I know for a fact that we've got 2 that have never driven a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So the sections have to be laid out so that they'll test even the best driver, but to be non-damaging for everybody. Safety is the bottom line, without a shadow of a doubt. Everybody has to enjoy themselves, but it's got to be safe.
Yeah, what brings me down here? I do wonder. I mean, I don't even know where I am. Have you got any idea where I am? I suppose if you live on this island, and it is a wet and mucky island, and in the winter, if you're going to get out and enjoy yourself, this has got to happen to you, hasn't it? You've got to get out in the muck. I love, in fact, it's more than love, I have a passion for the internal combustion engine when it's attached to wheels, be they 2 wheels or 4 wheels. So mucking around in the muck with 4 wheels is going to be fun. So that's why I'm here. All right, we're off. Now, what you've got to imagine is that this is another TV channel, and there's that big geezer with the curly hair. You know what I'm talking about? Only we're going to do it properly, right? We're going to go around here like this, nil throttle, because we're going to drop down this hill. You're going to land on your other end. Okay, off you go, out the window, right? Round we go, and get a little bit of welly here so we can get off this slope and down into that water like that, you see? And then up this bank, lots of welly! There we go, and a bit more up this one. Yes, up we go! Yes, give it some!
You got any of that?
See, the big curly-headed geezer on the BBC can't do that.
I've read the magazine for probably about 12, 14 years, and I'm just interested in it. I thought, well, why not have a go? I've read in the past that other people who've never experienced off-road have entered and done quite well, so I thought, well, it's nice as well have a go. And I was one of the lucky dozen. here goes then. It seemed to go quite well. As far as I know, I cleared. I'm not sure. You can't always tell because the gates are behind you whether you clip the back of them, but it seemed to go quite well.
I saw the photographs in the book actually, and I thought, oh, I'd like to do that. So yes, it's great fun. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I actually got interested in four-wheel driving. Last year it was my birthday. My husband, as a surprise, hired me a vehicle, and we went down to the motor show, and I won an off-road weekend there with the Hatsu, and that's what really fired me up and got me interested in four-wheel driving.
I'm Rob Woodgate and I work for Suzuki GP plc. I'm the technical centre controller at Suzuki, where we supply all the vehicles for this off-road course, which is in conjunction with the magazine. It takes us quite a few days actually to get the vehicles all ready for the course. It doesn't matter to me that they're actually getting muddy the way they are. It might take quite a few days for us to get them back to spick and span. Very little damage will probably be done for them, but as you can see, the cars will sell themselves really to the people that are actually here. Well, today we're using the short wheelbase Vitara 8 valve, and a lot of these people that are actually here probably haven't even seen what the Suzuki can do. They think it's probably just like a poser vehicle, and I think now, once they've seen what they can do, they'll find that they've got a lot more appreciation for what the vehicle actually is. It's not a poser vehicle at all.
Right, and in first place, Richard Prescott.
It's been a good day. It's been interesting, and the old adrenaline switched on a bit as the guys got more competitive. And I think I'm pleased to win, but there's a good bunch of guys out there as well, so we've done really well. Yeah, I'd love to come back next year and defend the title. Whether we'll get the chance or not, I don't know.
I bet there's a queue at the car wash on the way home. You're watching Four Wheels Good here on Granada's Men and Motors channel. We'll take a break right now and then we'll talk Formula One. Hello again, welcome back into the garage for Four Wheels Good on Granada's Men and Motors channel. Now, for those of you who don't already know, the Formula One season starts very soon in Melbourne, Australia. And over the coming weeks, we'll be showing the prospects of each of the teams. Here's this week's report from Peter Baker.
Well, here's a preview of the Williams-Renault FW19, which is an all-new car that carries on the themes of the successful FW17 and 18 models. Frank Williams was pleased that his cars are the ones that all other teams seem to look to as the standard setters. Adrian Newey's input has now been reduced with his estrangement from the team, which is a great loss to the reigning champions. Recruit Heinz-Harald Frentzen is cautious.
I think it's going to be difficult only to be an insider, I think, knowing what is the difference of this car.
Technical director Patrick Head has announced new features on the car for this season, which may not be the last to run a Renault engine, and he described to 4 Wheels Good the new rear impact tests.
Well, there's a new transmission and the new rear impact structure, which is a test we have to fulfill this year. It's a very severe test because basically we have to absorb the same amount of energy as we do in the frontal impact test, but for aerodynamic reasons there's pressure to make the energy absorbing device as small as possible on the back. So a lot of work has gone into that, and we actually did pass the mandatory crash test about 2 days ago.
Pre-season testing has shown that times have been very close among all the teams. Well, Jordan has an all-new driver lineup and a rather aggressive paint scheme for their latest Peugeot-powered car. Once again, this is a crucial year for Jordan, who need that Grand Prix win to establish themselves in the top rank. And they've gone for 2 fairly inexperienced drivers, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fischiella. They've managed plenty of testing, and Schumacher described to us his first time in a Formula One car, not as daunting as he thought, following some advice from brother Michael.
I expected a lot more different, because when I talked to Michael, he said, well, when you sit in the Formula One car first time, you just think it is amazing power and you just wanted to jump out because it's so different. But then I went out those time with the McLaren and I shifted careful in the 3rd gear, and then I put my foot on the throttle, you know, very careful, and then I was on full throttle, but I didn't realize it. So, you know, it wasn't that amazing like I expected it.
Well, obviously the advantage is, particularly when they're so quick, that they will make mistakes, of course, and they will push each other to unbelievable lengths. So there will be times that will be a little bit frustrating, but the opposite side to that is when they do get it right, it will be something worth watching. I mean, there will be fireworks, they will be pushing each other, they'll make the team work very hard.
Noticed how grey Eddie Jordan's hair is getting these days? Well, no doubt he hopes that combination will bring that elusive first win to prevent his hair from turning any greyer. Here's a reminder of the calendar. That race is on March the 9th. The circus heads to South America and then into Europe.
So why do people race, I wonder? Is it for the money? Is it for the thrill of danger? Or is it for the sportsmanship that motor racing offers? I don't know, but I suppose it's probably a bit of each. Well, one man who's won an incredible number of awards is our own Stirling Moss. Mike Rutherford persuaded him to allow our cameras into his private trophy room at his exclusive Mayfair home. Prepare to be impressed when you consider the stories of determination, skill and fortitude which lie behind each of the trophies and awards you're about to see.
Well, this is kind of embarrassing because I can tell you honestly, I've never won a medal, a trophy, anything, a certificate. I don't think I ever managed to swim a width at school. And this man here, Stirling Moss, has won, from memory, Stirling, 220 races in your career, but a lot more trophies than that because you're the fastest laps and all sorts of things.
Yeah, I don't honestly know, but yes. And some I even did some boxing and running and so on, yeah.
And here's just a very, very small selection of them. We should stress this is a very secure and alarmed cabinet in Stirling's house in London, but this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's tons more than
these are ones that mean a lot to me. I mean, there's a thing. I mean, not all of them are mine. I would say that's my father's. He won one, but there are a few that do mean something. Like these over here. Just those are probably the most important to me because they're the British Championship, and that's grown 10 times, and the Driver of the Year awards. But yes, well, they mean a lot to me. They're not valuable, but they do mean something to me. Yeah.
So where are the rest of them? Have you put them all away in boxes?
They were in boxes, and then I was asked if I'd lend them on indefinite loan really to a museum in California, San Jose.
Now, I can't understand that. I mean, if I won a single medal or trophy or something, it would be there, pride of place on the mantelpiece. Lend it to me. No, but quite seriously, I mean, I've heard that before. Is it just the case that you get too many of these things and they just don't mean anything to you?
No, they still mean an awful lot, of course, but you can't. I mean, what are you going to do? Crowd a room out and keep cleaning them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really practical, quite honestly. And of course they mean an awful lot, but if they're in boxes, it's not much you can do. And if somebody comes along and says, look, we'd like to put them on show or something like that, then obviously it's a nice home for them.
Now, there's a pretty unusual one here. with all these glamorous trophies.
Yeah, well, there's a rabbit's foot. That was given to me by quite a few of the other drivers got together, friends of mine, in 1954, which I had a very unfortunate year. With quite a few races, I nearly won the Italian Grand Prix, and of course a miss is as good as a mile. And the car unfortunately just broke a pipe just before the end. I was leading then in front of Fangio and so on, and a few things like that, and they gave me this as a good luck charm for the following year.
That's the other drivers?
Yeah.
Now that wouldn't happen today, would it? That sort of thing? I mean, they don't talk to each other, they don't like each other?
No, I don't think it would actually. I think
maybe a horse's head in your bed or something like that.
No, I think they get along, but not. It wasn't. They hadn't got quite the same comradeship as we had actually.
And I hope you don't mind saying, but I'm going to take the liberty of picking this one up if I've got the strength. I love that. There's something about that from an aesthetic point of view. It's just beautiful.
Well, it's a very modern one. This was they ran the World Championship on a computer of fastest laps in practice and this, that, and the other. And that was the main award which happened to win. He's got a rather nice helmet which comes off into it.
So you're being a bit modest. I mean, what they actually did was put all the results and all the lap times over the years into a computer to decide, you know, on paper, who was the quickest driver and who was the best driver. It's a bit like the computer fight between Muhammad Ali and Rocky Marciano. I think they decided Marciano would have won it. Had those two
and I didn't even have to risk my neck at all, so it was quite nice when that
maybe that's how drivers will race in the future.
It's getting a little bit more that way actually. It is, thank goodness. I suppose one has to be grateful of safety, but I think in its own way it does some damage to the sport, because I personally believe motor racing needs to be and should be a bit dangerous. Otherwise everybody who's watching this programme would say, well, I'm going to go out and get in a car. I could do as well as Damon. I could do this, I could do that.
I mean, are you actually saying that it's too safe, that there should be more danger, that people should put their lives at more risk than they're doing so at the moment?
I don't think on a big TV show one can say that. But I would say I think that the ingredient of danger is an important ingredient to give the exhilaration of driving in competition to the driver. I mean, I've spoken to even modern drivers. I mean, Jacques Villeneuve was saying the other day to me that he felt that now it is a relatively safe sport, and it does take away that extra added thing that gives you a real kick. I mean, if your life's at stake, there's no doubt that you pay more attention than if it isn't. And it's rather like gambling. If you gamble just for chips, that's not important. But you even make 1 penny, even if you're a millionaire, it means something. And I think in motor racing, the highest stake you can put in is your life. And so I think that motor racing does need an element of danger, I think.
And of course, they're paid certainly well enough to take, I mean, if you think about it, and as is often said, when there's a tragic accident in motor racing, there are probably more accidents in golf, in rugby, in all sorts of other sports. And I think, I can understand what you're saying. And thinking back to your day, am I right in thinking that when you used to start the season, there were probably about 4 or 5 blokes that you were racing against the season before that just didn't make it to the grid?
Yeah, we had a few accidents each year. There's no doubt. But I don't think the pay really should matter, because I don't think any man's life has a value. You can't put a value. How much is a person worth in that way? I think it's quite wrong. But I think that the people who are being robbed really are the drivers themselves, because there's no doubt that it does make it that much more exhilarating. And you see, for instance, look, when Ayrton Senna, probably one of the greatest drivers has ever been, I think next to Fangio probably, when he actually did drive Prost off the road, I think that is really inexcusable. But he wouldn't have done that if he'd feared for his own life. He knew he was unlikely to hurt Alain Prost and so on. So therefore that was quite an important ingredient, I think.
What an amazing collection. And even more amazing is the fact that he's got loads of lesser awards tucked away in his loft, would you believe? A true living legend of motor racing. Well, thanks very much for watching, but it's time to turn off the ignition and put the dust covers over this set again. Please tell your friends we're on the air, and if you only caught the tail end of the programme, where have you been? Check the listings guides for repeats, which you'll find later on in the week. From all of our team, goodbye, and please join us for a very special programme next week with reports from the 1997 International Motor Show in Geneva. Let us leave you with shots of some of the cars new for this year, starting with the stunning new coupe we were the first to show you the video of last week, the Ford Puma. We'll see you soon.